Imagine standing at the edge of the world, where jagged peaks rise like ancient guardians, and turquoise lakes shimmer like hidden jewels beneath the sky. A place where every step feels like walking through a dream, every breath fills your soul, and every moment makes time itself seem to pause. Welcome to the Dolomites, Italy's crown jewel of mountains, meadows, and crystal clear waters. In the next few minutes, we'll take you on a cinematic journey you've never experienced before. From the iconic Tre Cime di Lavaredo to secret alpine lakes, serene plateaus, and dramatic cliffs that touch the clouds, this is more than a travel video. It's an invitation to feel the magic, the mystery, and the majesty of the Dolomites in stunning 4K. So tighten your boots, take a deep breath, and get ready. By the end of this journey, the Dolomites won't just be a place you've seen, it will be a place you feel. What if there was a place where the mountains don't just rise? They command your attention, where silence feels powerful, and where the first light of day transforms stone into gold? Welcome to Tre Cime di Lavaredo, the crown of the Dolomites. A place so iconic, so breathtaking, it feels almost unreal the moment you lay eyes on it. Before the sun even rises, the journey begins in darkness. The air is crisp, carrying a quiet stillness that wraps around everything. As you move along the trail, guided only by faint light and anticipation, the towering silhouettes of the peaks slowly begin to emerge against the horizon. At first, they are nothing more than shadows, massive, mysterious, and distant. But with every step forward, their presence becomes stronger, more defined, more impossible to ignore. And then, it happens. The first light of sunrise touches the peaks. In a matter of moments, Tre Cime transforms. The pale gray rock ignites into deep shades of orange and gold, as if the mountains themselves are waking up. The contrast is striking. The dark valleys below, still wrapped in shadow, while the towering spires above glow with an almost surreal intensity. It's a moment that feels timeless, one that stops you in your tracks without warning. Standing here, you begin to understand the scale of this place. The three massive peaks rise vertically into the sky, their jagged edges cutting through the light. They don't just dominate the landscape, they define it. Everything around them feels secondary, smaller, quieter. The silence is powerful, broken only by the soft sound of wind brushing across the rocky terrain. As the light spreads, the details begin to reveal themselves. The rugged textures of the rock, shaped by centuries of wind and weather, tell a story of endurance and time. Narrow trails wind through the landscape, inviting you to explore further, to step deeper into this world that feels untouched and raw. Walking the loop around Tre Cime is an experience that constantly shifts your perspective. With every turn, the mountains reveal a new angle, a new mood. One moment, they stand bold and illuminated, glowing under the rising sun. The next, clouds drift across their peaks, softening their edges and wrapping them in mystery. It's never the same view twice. It's a place that changes with every passing moment. The path itself is both gentle and dramatic. On one side, open skies stretch endlessly, giving you a sense of freedom that's hard to describe. On the other, steep drops and rocky formations remind you of the raw power of nature. It's a balance between calm and intensity, between peace and awe. Along the way, you encounter small details that make the experience even more immersive. Wildflowers push through the rocky ground, adding bursts of color to the otherwise rugged landscape. Distant echoes of footsteps remind you that others are here too, drawn by the same sense of wonder. And occasionally, the wind picks up, rushing through the peaks with a sound that feels almost alive. As the day progresses, the atmosphere begins to shift. The bright morning light gives way to stronger contrasts, deepening shadows and highlighting every ridge and contour of the mountains. The peaks no longer glow softly, they stand bold and defined, their presence even more commanding under the midday sun. But it's not just about the mountains, it's about how they make you feel. There's something grounding about being here. Surrounded by formations that have stood for millions of years, you begin to feel a sense of perspective. The noise of everyday life fades away, replaced by a quiet clarity that only places like this can offer. It's not just a visual experience, it's something deeper, something that stays with you. As the afternoon slowly drifts toward evening, the energy shifts once again. The light softens, shadows stretch longer, and the peaks begin to take on warmer tones. The intensity of the day fades into something calmer, more reflective. It's as if the mountains themselves are slowing down, preparing for the quiet of the night. And then, just as the journey began with a moment of transformation, it ends with another. Sunset arrives. The peaks glow once more, this time with deeper, richer colors burning oranges, soft reds, and fading golds. The sky behind them becomes a canvas of shifting hues, creating a scene that feels almost cinematic in its perfection. The air cools, the wind softens, and everything seems to pause, just for a moment. Standing there, watching the last light disappear behind Tre Cime, one thing becomes clear. This is more than just a destination. It's a place that captures something rare, a perfect balance of power and peace, of beauty and rawness, of stillness and movement. It's a reminder of how extraordinary the natural world can be when left untouched, when allowed to simply exist. And as the mountains fade into silhouette and the stars begin to appear, you realize that Tre Cime di Lavaredo doesn't just leave you with memories. It leaves you with a feeling you won't forget. What if there was a place where the mountains don't just surround you? They reflect back at you, perfectly, as if nature itself is holding a mirror to its own beauty? A place so calm, so still, that even the slightest ripple feels like it's breaking a sacred silence. Welcome to Lago di Carezza, the hidden jewel of the Dolomites, where reality feels softer, quieter, and almost dreamlike. The journey begins in the early hours, when the world is still waking up. A thin layer of mist hovers just above the water, drifting slowly like a quiet breath across the lake. The air is cool, fresh, and filled with a sense of anticipation. As you step closer to the shoreline, the first thing you notice is the color an unreal shade of emerald green, glowing gently even in the soft morning light. And then you see it, the reflection. The towering peaks that rise behind the lake are mirrored so perfectly in the still water that it becomes almost impossible to tell where reality ends and reflection begins. The line between sky and earth fades, creating a scene that feels almost surreal, as if you've stepped into a painting rather than a real place. Standing at the edge, everything slows down. There's no rush here, no noise to distract you, just the gentle lapping of water against the shore and the quiet presence of the mountains watching over the lake. It's a kind of silence that feels complete, not empty, a silence that invites you to simply exist in the moment. As the sun begins to rise higher, the lake starts to come alive. Light filters through the surrounding trees, casting soft shadows across the water. The mist slowly lifts, revealing more of the landscape with every passing minute. The peaks become sharper, clearer, their reflections growing brighter as the light strengthens. Wooden boats, lined neatly along the shore, add a sense of timeless charm to the scene. Their warm tones contrast beautifully with the cool greens and blues of the water and mountains. As one gently glides across the lake, it creates ripples that spread outward in perfect circles, momentarily distorting the reflection before it settles once again into stillness. Taking a walk around Lago di Carezza reveals a different kind of beauty. The trail winds through forested sections where sunlight filters through tall trees, creating patterns of light and shadow on the ground. Small wooden bridges cross over gentle streams, and every turn offers a new perspective of the lake, sometimes wide and open, sometimes framed by branches and leaves. There's a rhythm to this place, a natural flow that feels almost meditative. Step by step, the outside world fades further away, replaced by the simple act of walking, breathing, and observing. The sound of footsteps on gravel, the distant call of birds, the occasional rustle of leaves in the breeze. All of it combines into a quiet symphony of nature. As the day progresses, the lake begins to shift in mood. The once perfectly still surface becomes slightly more active, catching the light in shimmering patterns. The reflections are still there, but now they dance gently with the movement of the water. It's a reminder that even in a place defined by calm, there is always motion, always life. The mountains surrounding Lago di Carezza feel closer here, more intimate. Their towering presence is softened by the water, their strength balanced by the lake's tranquility. It's a contrast that defines the entire experience, power and peace existing side by side, each enhancing the other. And then, as the sun begins its descent, the lake transforms once again. The light turns warmer, softer, casting a golden glow across the entire landscape. The emerald water deepens in color, reflecting the changing sky in shades of orange, pink, and gold. The mountains, once bright and defined, now take on a more gentle, almost dreamlike quality. The crowds begin to fade, and a quiet calm returns to the lake. The boats rest once more along the shore, the water settles, and the reflections become clearer again. It feels like the lake is returning to its natural state, as if the day was just a brief moment of activity in an otherwise timeless existence. Standing there during sunset, you realize that Lago di Carezza is not just about what you see, it's about what you feel. It's about slowing down, letting go of distractions, and allowing yourself to fully experience the present moment. It's a place that doesn't demand your attention, it gently invites it. And as the last light fades and the sky begins to darken, the lake becomes something else entirely. The reflections disappear into shadow, the mountains fade into silhouettes, and the surface of the water turns into a dark, quiet mirror under the night sky. In that stillness, one thing becomes clear. Lago di Carezza is not just a destination. It's a moment of peace, a reflection not only of the mountains around it, but of something deeper within you. And long after you leave, that feeling of calm, that sense of quiet wonder, stays with you like a memory you can return to again and again. What if there was a place where the earth itself rises into the sky, where you don't just look at the mountains, you walk above them? A place where the horizon stretches endlessly, and the clouds drift beneath your feet like a moving ocean. Welcome to Sasida Ridge, one of the most surreal and breathtaking landscapes in the Dolomites, where reality feels elevated, and every step feels like you're walking through a dream. The journey begins with ascent. As you rise higher into the mountains, the world below slowly fades away. Villages shrink into tiny clusters, roads disappear into thin lines, and the noise of everyday life becomes distant, almost forgotten. The air grows cooler, fresher, carrying a quiet clarity that feels different from anywhere else. And then, suddenly, the landscape opens up. Sasida reveals itself in a way that feels almost cinematic. A vast ridge stretches across the horizon, its sharp, jagged peaks rising dramatically like the spine of some ancient giant. The contrast is striking on one side, soft rolling meadows glowing in shades of green, and on the other, steep vertical drops that fall away into the valley far below. It's a place of extremes, where gentle beauty meets raw, untamed power. Standing at the edge of the ridge, the feeling is immediate and overwhelming. The scale is immense, almost difficult to comprehend. The mountains don't just surround you, they extend endlessly in every direction, layer upon layer fading into the distance. The sky feels closer here, wider, more open, as if you've stepped into a space where boundaries no longer exist. The wind moves differently at this height. It sweeps across the ridge with a steady rhythm, carrying with it the scent of grass and stone. It brushes past you, not harshly, but with a presence that reminds you exactly where you are, high above the world, in a place where nature is fully in control. Walking along the ridge is an experience that constantly shifts between calm and exhilaration. The path winds gently through the alpine meadows, where wildflowers add bursts of color to the landscape. Soft greens, bright yellows, and delicate purples create a vivid contrast against the pale rock of the peaks. It feels peaceful, almost serene. But then, just a few steps away, the terrain drops dramatically. Looking over the edge, the valley below feels impossibly far away. The cliffs fall almost vertically, creating a sense of depth that is both thrilling and humbling. It's a reminder of the power of the land, of the forces that shaped these mountains over millions of years. And yet, despite the intensity of the landscape, there's a balance, a harmony between danger and beauty that defines Sasida. As clouds begin to drift across the sky, the entire scene transforms. They move slowly, rolling over the peaks and through the valleys like waves. At times, they rise up to meet the ridge itself, wrapping the mountains in soft layers of white. For a moment, you're standing above them, watching as the world below disappears into a sea of mist. It's in these moments that Sasida feels truly unreal. The line between earth and sky fades, and everything becomes part of a single, flowing landscape. Light filters through the clouds, casting shifting patterns across the ridge, highlighting certain peaks while others fade into shadow. It's a constant change, a living scene that evolves with every passing second. As the day moves forward, the light becomes stronger, revealing more details in the landscape. The textures of the rock become sharper, the colors more vivid. The meadows glow under the sun, while the jagged peaks cast long, dramatic shadows that stretch across the land. But even in the brightness of midday, there's a quietness that remains. Sasida doesn't feel crowded or rushed. Even with others exploring the ridge, there's a sense of space, of openness that allows you to find your own moment of stillness. It's easy to step away, to pause, and to simply take it all in without distraction. And then, slowly, the light begins to soften. As afternoon turns toward evening, the entire landscape shifts once again. The sharp contrasts of the day give way to warmer tones, and the mountains begin to glow under the setting sun. The jagged peaks, once bold and intense, now take on a softer, almost golden appearance. The ridge becomes quieter, calmer. Shadows stretch longer across the meadows, and the sky begins to fill with colors subtle at first, then growing deeper and richer with each passing minute. The clouds catch the light, turning shades of orange, pink, and gold, drifting slowly across the vast open sky. Standing on Sasita at sunset feels like standing at the edge of something infinite. The world below fades into darkness, while the peaks remain illuminated for just a little longer, holding on to the last light of the day. It's a moment that feels suspended in time, where everything slows down and nothing else matters except the view in front of you. And then, as the sun finally disappears, the colors begin to fade. The sky deepens into blue, the peaks turn into silhouettes, and the first stars begin to appear above the ridge. The wind softens, the air cools, and the landscape settles into a quiet stillness that feels almost sacred. In that moment, one thing becomes clear. Saseta is not just a place you visit, it's a place you feel. It's the sensation of standing above the clouds, of witnessing a landscape so vast and so beautiful that it changes the way you see the world. It's the memory of light and shadow, of movement and stillness, of being part of something far greater than yourself. And long after you leave, that feeling stays with you, like a moment suspended above the world, waiting for you to return. What if there was a place where time slows down, where the harsh edges of the mountains soften into endless green, and where silence feels warm instead of empty? A place where the chaos of the world fades into a gentle rhythm of wind, light, and open space. Welcome to Alpe di Siusi, the heart of the Dolomites' quiet beauty, where nature doesn't overwhelm you, it embraces you. The day begins with a soft glow spreading across the horizon. The first light of morning doesn't rush here, it gently unfolds, brushing the wide alpine meadows with shades of gold. The grass, still touched by the coolness of night, shimmers with tiny droplets of dew. Every blade catches the light, turning the entire landscape into something almost magical. As the sun rises higher, the full scale of Alpe di Siusi reveals itself. Rolling fields stretch endlessly in every direction, flowing like waves across the land. Scattered wooden cabins sit quietly among the meadows, their presence simple and timeless, as if they've always been part of this landscape. In the distance, the dramatic peaks of the Dolomites rise sharply into the sky, creating a striking contrast between softness and strength. Walking through these meadows feels different from anywhere else. There's no urgency, no steep climbs demanding your energy. Instead, the land invites you to move slowly, to take your time, to notice the small details that might otherwise go unseen. The gentle sound of wind moving through the grass, the distant ringing of cowbells, the quiet hum of life all around it creates a rhythm that feels almost meditative. The air here carries a unique clarity. Each breath feels deeper, cleaner, as if the mountains themselves are filtering out everything unnecessary. It's a kind of stillness that doesn't feel empty, it feels full, rich with presence. As you continue walking, the light begins to shift, revealing new layers of beauty. The green meadows take on different tones depending on the angle of the sun, sometimes bright and vibrant, sometimes soft and muted. Wildflowers dot the landscape, adding touches of yellow, purple, and white, breaking the uniformity of the grass with bursts of color. Every direction offers a different view. Turn one way, and you see the vast openness of the plateau, stretching far beyond what the eye can follow. Turn another, and the towering peaks stand in perfect contrast, their jagged edges cutting sharply against the sky. It's a balance that defines Alpe di Siusi, gentle and powerful, simple and dramatic, all at once. As the day moves forward, life in the meadows becomes more visible. Hikers move along the trails, their presence small. Against the vast landscape, cyclists pass quietly, following winding paths that seem to disappear into the horizon. And, scattered across the fields, cows graze peacefully, their slow movements adding to the calm, unhurried atmosphere. There's a sense of harmony here, a feeling that everything belongs exactly where it is. Unlike the more dramatic peaks of the Dolomites, Alpe di Siusi doesn't demand your attention through intensity. Instead, it draws you in gently, allowing you to connect with the landscape in a quieter, more personal way. It's not about standing in awe, it's about feeling at ease. As afternoon begins to soften, the light takes on a warmer tone. Shadows grow longer, stretching across the meadows, and creating subtle patterns in the grass. The peaks in the distance begin to glow, their rocky faces catching the golden light in a way that feels almost surreal. The cabins, once simple and understated, now stand out more clearly against the changing colors of the landscape. Smoke may rise gently from a chimney, adding a sense of life and warmth to the scene. It feels timeless, untouched by the fast pace of the modern world. And then, slowly, the moment everyone waits for begins to unfold. Sunset. The sky transforms into a canvas of deep oranges, soft pinks, and fading gold. The light spreads across the meadows, turning the green fields into warm shades that feel almost unreal. The mountains, once sharp and defined, soften into silhouettes, their presence still powerful, but now calm, almost protective. The air cools, the wind slows, and everything seems to pause. Standing in the middle of Alpe di Siusi at this moment, you don't feel like a visitor. You feel like part of the landscape, connected to it in a way that's hard to explain. The vastness that once felt overwhelming now feels comforting, like a quiet reminder of how simple and beautiful the world can be. As the last light fades and the sky deepens into twilight, a new kind of silence takes over. It's softer, deeper, filled with a sense of completion. The day has come full circle, from the gentle light of morning to the warm glow of evening, leaving behind a feeling that lingers long after the sun has disappeared. And in that stillness, one truth becomes clear. Alpe di Siusi is not just a place you see, it's a place you feel. It's the quiet between moments, the space where time slows down, where the world feels balanced and whole. It's a reminder that beauty doesn't always have to be dramatic to be unforgettable. Sometimes, it's the calmest places that leave the deepest mark. And long after you leave, the memory of these endless green meadows, these golden skies, and this perfect stillness stays with you, like a quiet piece of peace you can carry wherever you go. What if there was a place where the elegance of human life meets the raw power of the mountains, where every street leads to a view and every moment feels like it belongs in a film? A place where culture, style, and nature exist in perfect harmony. Welcome to Cortina d'Ampezzo, the beating heart of the Dolomites, where alpine beauty and timeless charm come together in a way that feels both vibrant and unforgettable. The day begins with a quiet awakening. The town slowly comes to life as the first light touches the surrounding peaks. Soft golden rays spill over the rooftops, illuminating the streets with a gentle glow. The mountains that frame Cortina stand tall in the distance, their presence constant, watching over the town like silent guardians. Walking through the streets of Cortina feels like stepping into a different rhythm. There's an energy here, but it's not rushed. People move with purpose, yet there's always time to pause, to sit at a cafe, to take in the view, to simply enjoy the moment. The sound of footsteps on stone pathways, the soft hum of conversation, and the clinking of coffee cups create a warm, inviting atmosphere. But what makes Cortina truly special is the way the mountains are never far away. No matter where you stand, they are always there, rising above the town, shaping the skyline, reminding you that this is not just a destination, but a place deeply connected to nature. The contrast is striking. Elegant buildings, boutique shops, and cozy cafes exist side by side with towering peaks and vast open skies. As the morning unfolds, the town becomes more alive. Sunlight reflects off windows, casting patterns of light across the streets. Outdoor terraces fill with people, enjoying the crisp mountain air. There's a sense of movement, of life, yet it never feels overwhelming. Everything flows naturally, effortlessly. And then, just beyond the town, the landscape opens up. A short journey takes you into the surrounding mountains, where the energy shifts completely. The lively atmosphere of Cortina fades into quiet trails, open valleys, and dramatic viewpoints. It's a transition that feels almost surreal. One moment you're surrounded by the comforts of town life, and the next, you're immersed in pure wilderness. The trails around Cortina offer some of the most breathtaking views in the Dolomites. Paths wind through forests of tall pine trees, where sunlight filters gently through the branches. The air here feels cooler, fresher, filled with the scent of wood and earth. With every step, the noise of the town fades further away, replaced by the quiet sounds of nature. As you move higher, the trees begin to thin, revealing wide open spaces and panoramic views. The peaks rise closer now, their jagged edges sharp against the sky. Valleys stretch out below, filled with layers of green that seem to go on forever. It's a reminder of just how vast and diverse this region truly is. But even in these quiet moments, Cortina remains part of the experience. Looking back toward the town from above, you see it nestled perfectly within the landscape, a small, vibrant center surrounded by immense natural beauty. It doesn't feel separate from the mountains. It feels like it belongs here, as if it has grown naturally from the land itself. As the day continues, the light begins to shift, changing the mood of both the town and the mountains. The bright clarity of midday softens into warmer tones, and shadows begin to stretch across the landscape. The peaks take on a deeper color, their surfaces glowing under the afternoon sun. Back in the town, the atmosphere becomes more relaxed. The pace slows, conversations linger longer, and the streets take on a softer, more intimate feel. It's a place where time doesn't feel measured, it feels experienced. And then, as evening approaches, Cortina reveals its most magical side. The sun begins to set behind the mountains, casting a warm, golden light across the entire valley. The peaks glow intensely for a brief moment, their rocky faces turning shades of orange and red, a phenomenon that feels almost otherworldly. The town below reflects this light, creating a scene that feels both vibrant and calm at the same time. Lights begin to appear in windows, one by one, adding a soft warmth to the streets. The mountains slowly fade into silhouette, their powerful presence now gentle, almost protective. The sky deepens in color, transitioning from gold to deep blue, as the first stars begin to appear. In this moment, everything feels balanced. Cortina is no longer just a town, and the mountains are no longer just a backdrop. Together, they create something unique, a place where nature and human life exist in perfect harmony, each enhancing the other. And as the night settles in, a quiet calm takes over. The energy of the day fades into a peaceful stillness, leaving behind a sense of contentment that's hard to put into words. Because Cortina d'Ampezzo is not just about what you see, it's about what you feel. It's the warmth of a place that welcomes you, the beauty of landscapes that surround you, and the balance between movement and stillness that stays with you long after you leave. It's a reminder that sometimes the most unforgettable experiences are not found in extremes, but in the perfect harmony between them. What if there was a place where the mountains glow in colors you didn't think were real, where stone turns into fire, and sunset feels like a moment borrowed from another world? A place where legends live within the peaks, and every shadow carries a story older than time itself. Welcome to Val di Funes, the Valley of Quiet Magic, where the Dolomites reveal one of their most iconic and unforgettable views. The journey begins in stillness. Early morning light slowly spreads across the valley, touching the rolling green fields with a soft, golden glow. Everything feels calm, untouched, as if the world hasn't fully awakened yet. Small wooden houses are scattered across the landscape, their presence simple and peaceful, blending naturally into the surroundings. But it's not long before your eyes are drawn upward. Rising sharply behind the valley are the jagged peaks of the Odol Mountains. Their dramatic shapes cut into the sky with a precision that feels almost unreal. They don't just sit in the background, they define the entire scene, towering over the valley with a quiet but undeniable power. As the sun climbs higher, the valley begins to come alive. Light pours into every corner, revealing the rich greens of the meadows and the deep textures of the mountains. The contrast between the soft land below and the sharp peaks above creates a visual balance that feels perfectly composed, like a scene designed by nature itself. Walking through Val di Funes feels deeply personal. There's no rush, no overwhelming crowds, just open space and quiet paths that invite you to explore at your own pace. The sound of your footsteps blends with the gentle breeze moving through the grass. Occasionally, the distant ringing of cowbells adds a soft rhythm to the silence, grounding you in the moment. And then, almost unexpectedly, you come across one of the most iconic sights in the entire Dolomites. A small church stands alone in the middle of the valley, simple, elegant, and timeless. Its white walls and pointed steeple rise gently against the backdrop of the towering peaks. It feels almost surreal, as if it was placed there with intention, perfectly aligned with the mountains behind it. Standing there, looking at this scene, something shifts. It's not just beautiful, it feels meaningful. The contrast between the small human-made structure and the massive, ancient mountains behind it creates a sense of perspective that's hard to ignore. It's a reminder of scale, of time, of how small we are in comparison to the world around us, and yet how connected we still feel to it. As the day continues, the valley reveals more of its quiet charm. Narrow trails wind through the fields, leading you past wooden fences, gentle slopes, and hidden viewpoints that offer new perspectives of the landscape. Each turn feels like a discovery, a new frame of the same breathtaking scene. The light shifts constantly, changing the mood of the valley with it. Midday brings clarity and brightness, highlighting every detail in sharp contrast. The greens become more vibrant, the sky deeper, and the mountains more defined. It's a time when everything feels alive, full of energy and presence. But it's the late afternoon that begins to transform Val di Funes into something truly extraordinary. The sun lowers slowly, and the light softens, taking on warmer tones. Shadows stretch across the valley, adding depth and dimension to the landscape. The peaks of the Odo Mountains begin to catch the golden light, their rocky faces glowing with a subtle intensity. And then, the moment arrives. Sunset. The mountains ignite. The pale gray stone turns into deep shades of orange, red, and gold, a phenomenon known as enrosadira, where the Dolomites seem to burn under the last light of the day. It's not a gradual change, it's sudden, powerful, and almost unreal. The peaks glow, as if lit from within, standing in dramatic contrast against the darkening sky. The valley below remains calm, quiet, watching as the transformation unfolds above. In this moment, everything feels suspended in time. The air cools, the wind softens, and even the sounds of the valley seem to fade, as if nature itself is pausing to witness this daily spectacle. The small church stands silently in the foreground, its presence grounding the scene, while the mountains behind it burn with color. It's a moment that doesn't just capture your attention, it holds it. And then, just as quickly as it began, the colors start to fade. The fiery glow softens into gentle pinks, then into deep purples, and finally into shadow. The peaks lose their light, becoming silhouettes against the evening sky. The valley grows darker, quieter, settling into the calm of night. But the feeling remains, because Val di Funes is not just about what you see, it's about what stays with you. It's the stillness of the morning, the simplicity of the landscape, the powerful contrast between human presence and natural grandeur. It's the way light transforms the mountains into something almost alive, something that feels beyond explanation. And long after the sun has set and the valley rests in darkness, one thing becomes clear. This is not just a place you visit. It's a moment you carry with you, a quiet, powerful reminder of beauty, of balance, and of the kind of wonder that doesn't need words to be understood. What if there was a place where the mountains don't just rise? They surround you completely, forming a perfect circle of stone, sky, and silence? A place where the world feels enclosed yet infinite at the same time, where every direction holds a view so powerful, it almost feels unreal. Welcome to the Tre Cime di Lavaredo, the crown of the Dolomites, where nature reveals one of its most iconic and unforgettable masterpieces. The journey begins with anticipation. As you approach, the peaks are hidden at first, concealed behind layers of hills and winding paths. But with every step forward, something shifts. The air feels different, cooler, sharper, filled with a quiet intensity that hints at what lies ahead. And then, suddenly, they appear. 3 towering peaks rise dramatically into the sky, their vertical walls cutting through the air with an almost impossible precision. Tre Cime doesn't feel like a mountain range. It feels like a monument, something sculpted rather than formed. The scale is immediate and overwhelming, making everything around you feel smaller, quieter. Standing at the base, you feel it instantly, that sense of awe that's hard to describe. The peaks don't just stand in front of you, they surround you, creating a natural amphitheater of stone. The silence here is different. It's deeper, heavier, as if even sound itself is being absorbed by the vastness of the landscape. As you begin to walk the famous loop trail around Tre Cime, the perspective constantly changes. Each step reveals a new angle, a new way of seeing the same peaks. From one side, they appear sharp and aggressive, their edges cutting cleanly against the sky. From another, they seem almost smooth, shaped by time and weather into something more subtle, more complex. The path itself winds gently through alpine terrain, crossing gravel slopes and open fields. Despite the dramatic surroundings, there's a surprising sense of calm. The vastness of the landscape creates space not just physically, but mentally. It allows you to slow down, to breathe, to fully take in what's around you. And what surrounds you is nothing short of extraordinary. Beyond the three main peaks, the horizon stretches endlessly, with layers of mountains fading into the distance. Some are sharp and defined, others soft and hazy, blending into the sky. The colors shift with the light cool grays, deep blues, and subtle hints of green, all working together to create a landscape that feels alive. Clouds move slowly above, casting shadows that drift across the peaks. At times, they wrap around the mountains, partially hiding them, adding an element of mystery to the scene. It's a constant interplay of light and shadow, visibility and concealment. There are moments when the wind picks up, sweeping across the open terrain with a quiet force. It carries with it the rawness of the mountains, the scent of stone, the coolness of altitude, the feeling of being somewhere untouched. And then, just as quickly, it fades, leaving behind a stillness that feels almost absolute. As the day progresses, the light begins to change, bringing out new textures in the rock. The once pale surfaces of the peaks become richer, deeper, revealing layers and patterns that tell the story of time itself. These mountains are ancient, shaped over millions of years, and standing before them, you can feel that history in a way that words can't fully capture. Halfway through the loop, you reach a point where the view opens up even more. The peaks now stand behind you, and in front lies a vast, open valley surrounded by distant ranges. It's a reminder that Tre Cime is not just about the peaks themselves, it's about the entire environment, the space they exist within. There's a balance here: power and peace, intensity and calm. The dramatic vertical cliffs contrast with the open, gentle valleys, creating a harmony that feels perfectly natural. It's this balance that makes Tre Cime so captivating. It doesn't overwhelm you with just one emotion. It moves you through many, one after another. As afternoon turns toward evening, the atmosphere begins to shift once again. The crowds thin, the sounds fade, and the landscape becomes quieter. The light softens, taking on warmer tones that begin to transform the peaks. And then, as the sun begins to set, Tre Cime reveals its most breathtaking moment. The towering walls catch the last light of the day, glowing in shades of gold, orange, and deep red. The transformation is subtle at first, then suddenly intense. The peaks seem to come alive, their surfaces reflecting the warmth of the fading sun in a way that feels almost unreal. The sky behind them deepens into soft blues and purples, creating a contrast that makes the glowing rock stand out even more. Shadows stretch across the ground, adding depth and drama to the scene. Everything slows, everything quiets. Standing there, surrounded by these monumental peaks, you feel something shift inside you. It's not just admiration, it's connection. A sense of being part of something far greater, something timeless and enduring. And then, as the light begins to fade, the colors soften, slowly disappearing into the approaching night. The peaks lose their glow, becoming dark silhouettes against the sky. The first stars begin to appear, and the entire landscape settles into a deep, peaceful silence. In that moment, one truth becomes clear. Tre Cime di Lavaredo is not just a place you visit. It's an experience that stays with you. It's the feeling of standing in the presence of something immense, something ancient, something beautifully powerful. It's the memory of light dancing across stone, of silence echoing through space, of time slowing down just enough for you to truly feel it. And long after you leave, that feeling remains, like a quiet echo of the mountains, calling you back once again. What if there was a place where water becomes a mirror of the sky, where mountains rise quietly from the edges, and where every ripple feels like it carries a story from centuries past? A place where elegance and nature blend so effortlessly that you forget where one ends and the other begins. Welcome to Lake Carezza, the rainbow lake of the Dolomites, where color, light, and legend come together in perfect harmony. The first glimpse feels almost unreal. Tucked within the dense forest, the lake reveals itself suddenly, as if it's been hidden on purpose. One moment you're walking among tall, quiet trees, and the next, the landscape opens into a pool of color so vivid it feels like a dream. Shades of turquoise, emerald, and deep blue blend together beneath the surface, shifting gently with the movement of light. But it's not just the color that captures your attention, it's the reflection. The towering peaks of the Latemar Range rise behind the lake, and their image is mirrored perfectly in the still water. The line between reality and reflection fades, creating a scene that feels almost too perfect to be real. Every detail, the sharp edges of the mountains, the soft shapes of the clouds, the deep tones of the forest is doubled, existing both above and below. Standing at the edge of Lake Carezza, everything feels calm. The air is still, the water quiet, and the surrounding forest seems to hold the entire scene in a gentle embrace. There's a sense of balance here, a feeling that nothing is out of place. Even the smallest movement, a leaf falling, a slight breeze feels noticeable, as if the entire landscape is aware of itself. As the morning light begins to shift, the colors of the lake change with it. At times, the water glows with a bright, almost electric turquoise. Then, as clouds pass overhead, it deepens into richer, darker tones. It's never the same twice. The lake feels alive, constantly responding to the sky above it, reflecting not just the mountains, but the mood of the moment. There's a quiet legend tied to this place, a story whispered through time about a hidden treasure beneath the water, protected by magic and mystery. And standing here, looking into the depths of the lake, it's easy to believe it. There's a sense of depth that goes beyond what you can see, a feeling that something lies beneath the surface, just out of reach. Walking along the path that circles the lake offers new perspectives at every turn. From one angle, the reflections dominate, creating a perfectly symmetrical view that feels almost surreal. From another, the focus shifts to the colors of the water, revealing layers of light and shadow beneath the surface. The surrounding forest frames the lake beautifully, adding a sense of intimacy to a scene that could otherwise feel overwhelming. The soundscape is just as captivating. Soft footsteps on the path, the gentle rustling of trees, the distant call of birds echoing through the forest. It all blends into a quiet rhythm that feels deeply calming. There's no rush here, no need to move quickly. The lake invites you to slow down, to observe, to simply exist within the moment. As the day progresses, more light reaches the water, bringing out even more variation in color. The reflections remain strong, but now they shimmer slightly with the movement of the breeze. The perfect mirror becomes a living surface, dynamic yet still deeply peaceful. And then, slowly, the atmosphere begins to change. Afternoon light softens into warmer tones, and the forest takes on a deeper, richer color. The peaks of the Latemar range begin to glow subtly, their reflection in the lake shifting with the changing light. Shadows stretch longer, adding contrast and depth to the entire scene. It's a quiet transformation, but a powerful one. The lake feels more intimate now, more personal. The earlier brightness gives way to something softer, more emotional. It's no longer just a place to admire, it becomes a place to feel. And then comes sunset. The sky above the lake turns into a canvas of warm colors, gold, orange, and soft pink blending together as the sun lowers behind the mountains. These colors reflect across the surface of the water, merging with the natural blues and greens to create a scene that feels almost unreal. The reflections blur slightly as the light fades, becoming less defined but more expressive. The lake no longer mirrors the world perfectly. It interprets it, transforming it into something softer, more dreamlike. The forest grows quieter, the air cools, and the entire landscape settles into a calm that feels almost sacred. Standing there, watching the final light of the day fade across Lake Carezza, you realize that this place is not just about beauty, it's about atmosphere. It's about the way light interacts with water, the way silence shapes your experience, the way nature creates moments that feel both simple and extraordinary at the same time. And as the last colors disappear and the lake returns to shadow, one truth becomes clear. Lake Carezza is not just something you see, it's something you feel. It's the memory of color shifting beneath your eyes, of reflections that blur the line between reality and illusion, of a quiet moment in a hidden place where everything feels perfectly balanced. And long after you leave, that feeling stays with you, like a reflection you can't quite let go of, calling you back into its quiet, colorful world. What if there was a place where the mountains reveal their wildest side, where beauty feels untouched, raw, and almost hidden from the world? A place where the crowds disappear, the silence deepens, and nature feels closer, stronger, more real than ever before. Welcome to Lago di Sorapis, a hidden turquoise jewel of the Dolomites, where every step feels like a journey into something rare and unforgettable. The adventure begins long before the lake comes into view. The trail itself is part of the experience, winding through dense forests and narrow mountain paths that seem to cling to the edges of the landscape. At times, The path feels easy, almost gentle, but then it shifts, becoming steeper, narrower, more demanding. Wooden walkways and cables guide you along exposed sections, adding a sense of thrill to the journey. With every step, the anticipation builds. The air grows cooler, thinner, filled with the scent of pine and stone. The sounds of the outside world fade, replaced by the rhythm of your footsteps and the distant echo of wind moving through the mountains. It's a path that requires focus, but it also rewards you with moments of quiet beauty, glimpses of distant peaks, shafts of light breaking through the trees, and sudden openings that reveal the vastness of the Dolomites. And then, after the climb, the landscape changes. The forest begins to open, the trail softens, and the first hint of color appears through the trees, a pale, almost glowing blue. At first, it feels unreal, like a reflection of the sky somehow trapped within the earth. But as you move closer, the color deepens, becoming more vivid, more intense. And then, suddenly, you see it fully. Lago di Sorapis, a lake unlike any other. Its water is a striking shade of milky turquoise, so bright and so unique that it almost looks artificial, but it's not. This color comes from fine glacial particles suspended in the water, catching the light in a way that creates this extraordinary glow. It's a natural phenomenon, yet it feels like something out of a dream. The lake sits quietly within a natural basin, surrounded by rugged cliffs and towering peaks. The contrast is powerful, the soft, almost luminous water against the harsh, rocky landscape that encloses it. It feels hidden, protected, as if the mountains themselves are guarding this secret. Standing at the edge of the lake, the first feeling is silence, not just the absence of sound, but a deeper, more complete stillness. The water moves gently, small ripples catching the light, creating patterns that shift constantly. The mountains reflect faintly on the surface, distorted by the movement, blending reality and abstraction into something almost surreal. Walking around the lake reveals new angles, new perspectives of this hidden world. From one side, the cliffs rise sharply, their gray surfaces contrasting with the bright water below. From another, the lake opens up, revealing its full shape, its color even more intense under direct light. Every viewpoint feels different, yet equally captivating. There's a sense of isolation here. Even with other travelers present, the space feels vast enough to hold its silence. Conversations are quieter, movements slower, as if everyone instinctively understands that this place deserves respect. It's not a place to rush through, it's a place to absorb. As the day moves forward, the light begins to transform the lake. Under the strong midday sun, the turquoise becomes almost radiant, glowing against the darker tones of the surrounding rock. The reflections become sharper, the contrasts stronger. It's a moment of clarity, where every detail stands out.
With precision. But as afternoon approaches, the mood begins to shift. The light softens, and with it, the colors deepen. The bright turquoise takes on a slightly darker, richer tone. Shadows from the surrounding peaks begin to stretch across the water, adding layers of depth and mystery to the scene. The wind picks up slightly, moving across the surface of the lake, breaking the reflections into fragments. The perfect stillness of earlier moments gives way to gentle motion, reminding you that this place, while calm, is still alive. And then, slowly, the sun begins to lower. The peaks surrounding Lago di Sorapis catch the warm light, their rugged faces glowing softly in shades of gold and orange. The lake reflects these colors in its own unique way, blending them with its natural turquoise to create something entirely new, something that feels almost impossible to describe. The atmosphere becomes quieter, more intimate. The sounds fade, the air cools, and the entire landscape seems to slow down. It's a moment of transition, where the energy of the day gives way to the calm of evening. Standing there, watching the light change across the water, you feel something shift. It's not just admiration, it's connection. A sense of being part of a place that feels untouched, unfiltered, real. A place where nature doesn't try to impress, it simply exists, in all its raw beauty. And then, as the final light begins to fade, the colors soften. The turquoise dims into a quieter blue. The
golden tones disappear from the peaks, and the shadows take over. The lake becomes more mysterious, less defined, as if it's slowly returning to the secrecy it held before you arrived. In that moment, one truth becomes clear. Lago di Sorapis is not just a destination, it's a journey. It's the path that challenges you, the anticipation that builds, the reward that takes your breath away. It's the balance between effort and beauty, between movement and stillness. And long after you leave, that image stays with you. That impossible color, that quiet silence, that feeling of discovering something rare, something hidden, something unforgettable. What if there was a place where the mountains, the valleys, and the skies seem to come together in a final, perfect symphony? A place where the essence of the Dolomites is distilled into one breathtaking moment? A place that captures everything you've seen, felt, and imagined, yet surprises you with something deeper, more timeless. Welcome to the Alpe di Siusi, the largest high-altitude plateau in Europe. A landscape so vast, so serene, that it feels like stepping into a painting brought to life. The journey begins at dawn. Mist drifts lazily across the rolling meadows, softening the outlines of the surrounding peaks. The air is crisp, almost electric, carrying the scent of wildflowers and dewy grass. Every inhale feels like a reset, filling you with a quiet energy that only the mountains can provide. The first rays of sunlight touch the plateau gently, igniting the tips of the grass with a golden glow, hinting at the day to come. As you start to walk, the scale of Alpe di Siusi becomes apparent. The plateau stretches endlessly, a sweeping canvas of green that contrasts sharply with the jagged ridges of the Sassolungo and Cilia mountains, framing it. There's a rhythm here, a natural flow that guides your gaze from the soft curves of the meadows to the sharp, imposing peaks beyond. It's a balance of strength and calm, drama and serenity. The plateau is alive, yet still. Birds flit across the fields, their songs punctuating the morning air. Tiny streams weave through the grass, reflecting the sky in quick flashes of light. Cows graze calmly in the distance, their bells ringing softly, a human touch amidst the grandeur of untouched nature. Every element contributes to the sense that this place has existed untouched, perfectly balanced, for centuries. As the morning advances, light plays across the landscape in mesmerizing ways. The peaks of the Dolomites glow with subtle warmth, highlighting their rugged textures and sheer faces. Shadows stretch long across the rolling fields, emphasizing the plateau's expansive scale. Every angle offers a new perspective, a new story written in stone and grass, sun and shadow. Hiking deeper into the plateau, you encounter the little alpine huts scattered across the meadows, charming wooden structures that seem perfectly placed, neither intruding nor dominating. Their presence offers a sense of scale, emphasizing the immensity of the plateau while providing a gentle human connection. They are reminders that people have lived, worked, and thrived in this wild beauty, in harmony with the environment rather than against it. Walking along the winding trails, the scenery shifts subtly but constantly. Meadows filled with vibrant wildflowers stretch endlessly, interspersed with patches of forest and rocky outcrops. Each step reveals a new texture, a new color, a new interaction between land, light, and air. The interplay of natural elements creates a feeling of being simultaneously small and infinitely expansive, an awareness of your place in the landscape, both timeless and alive. By midday, the light sharpens, creating bold contrasts between the grassy plateau and the jagged peaks. The Sassolungo range rises in the distance, its vertical walls illuminated by the sun, standing as silent sentinels over the meadow below. Every rock, every ridge, every shadow becomes more defined, as if nature herself is sculpting the scene specifically for those who take the time to look closely. The tranquility of Alpe di Siusi is deceptive. Beneath the calm surface, there is a pulse, a subtle, almost imperceptible energy. The wind moves across the plateau, stirring the grasses and sending ripples through the wildflowers. Clouds drift across the sky, sometimes wrapping the peaks in a veil of mist, other times framing them against a perfect blue backdrop. This constant movement adds a dynamic quality to the scene, reminding you that while the landscape feels eternal, it is also alive, breathing, shifting with the elements. As afternoon transitions to evening, the plateau transforms again. The sunlight softens, taking on warmer, richer tones. Shadows lengthen dramatically, stretching across the fields and highlighting every undulation of the terrain. The mountains behind glow softly in golden hues, their textures softened by the low sun. The plateau begins to feel intimate, like a world made just for you, vast yet personal, expansive yet protective. And then comes the magic hour. Sunset ignites the plateau in ways words can scarcely capture. The peaks of the Dolomites catch the last rays of sunlight, glowing with fiery intensity. The green of the meadows deepens, blending with golden light and long, gentle shadows. Wildflowers shimmer as if kissed by the sun itself. Clouds overhead are painted with soft pinks, oranges, and purples, reflecting the light and adding an ethereal glow to the entire landscape. Every detail conspires to create a moment of perfect harmony. The plateau, the mountains, the sky, they interact as if choreographed, each element enhancing the other. It's a silence filled with meaning, a visual and emotional symphony that draws the eye and captures the heart. As darkness slowly approaches, the colors fade into deeper tones of blue and violet. The peaks become silhouettes, the meadows a soft shadow of their daytime brilliance. Stars begin to appear, dotting the sky with quiet wonder. The last warmth of the sun lingers in the rocks, a gentle reminder that the day is over, yet the beauty remains. Standing there, at the edge of this vast plateau, one truth becomes undeniable. Alpe di Siusi is not just a destination. It is a culmination, a final note in the symphony of the Dolomites. It is the quiet reflection of all the peaks you've seen, all the lakes, all the hidden corners of this incredible range. It is grandeur and intimacy, adventure and peace, history and timelessness, all in one breathtaking moment. And long after you leave, the feeling remains. The sense of scale, the interplay of light, the quiet energy of the plateau. Alpe di Siusi stays with you. It is not a memory of a place alone. It is a memory of an experience, a story written in stone, sky, and heart, echoing with the power and beauty of the Dolomites, calling you back for one more perfect moment. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed exploring Prague as much as I enjoyed guiding you through it. If you found this travel guide helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more beautiful destinations from around the world. Got a favorite spot in Prague? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, safe travels and see you in the next video.